Good evening, everybody. Nealay Patel here, and I'm going to be hosting this wonderful trend report. So I have got some fabulous, fabulous friends from TGBE joining me as well. So I'm going to invite Miss Kristen from Softflex Company, as well as Miss Sarah. And then we've got Heather from Humble Beads also joining in as well. Hello, ladies.
Hey, everybody. Hi, Nealay. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, totally. I'm so glad you guys can join in. We've got a lot to discuss today. There's
So much
it's all
fun stuff. Yeah.
This is all the stuff that we want to talk about because there's some unique trends out there, and through some research that we initially did, looking at Vogue magazine, at Elle, and then seeing just what's out there online for 2024 jewelry trends, I was kind of surprised. I was surprised in a good way, and I was surprised in it's interesting kind of a way. So what I did was I collected these overarching themes together, and I thought we could take some time to discuss them. And then I know that, like, Heather, you've got some stuff you want to talk about as well with the way that you approach trends. So I'm really excited to hear about that. And I don't know. I had a thought process and then it got lost. So let's just get into it. Is there anything you guys want to say before we start talking about stuff?
No, I'm excited to see what you pulled together. I know I sent a few things that I had found, and I'm just kind of excited to talk about it.
For sure. Me too. Okay, so I'm going to put us in a small view. And the first thing I want to talk about is the big thing for 2024, what we're going to be seeing a lot of in fashion and home accessories, in commercial design, in all the avenues of design. Peach fuzz. What are our thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's a really soft, pretty color that is going to pair well with lots of other things throughout the year. I think it's a nice color that sort of will be a bridge in certain ways to lots of different palettes. That's my take on it anyway.
I like that it'll be great for every season. Like I could pair this with other soft colors in the spring, and then in the summer I could see it with like a really bright turquoise, and then in the fall I could see it with, some of the browns and like red jasper colors, and then even going into winter maybe like a tanzanite or like more of that softer, more muted blue or purple would be so pretty with it. So I love it. I don't know that I would love it completely on its own without, like Kristen said, mixing it with other colors, I think would be pretty key and important.
Heather, thoughts?
Yes.
What are you thinking?
I wouldn't use it on its own, but I like it mixed in as an accent color for things. And I don't know who's running around in all peach. To pull off. It's the color of the year, but it definitely blends really nicely with a more modern color palette, which I know you have some coming up, Nealay, so I'm excited about color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm going to flash some comments. This is a live show, so please come in with questions and please come in with comments, whatever's on your mind. And some of these comments and stuff I'm going to flash on screen. This is an interesting comment because she mentioned that it's a kitchen painted, and this isn't just fashion. Like when Pantone produces the color of the year, or makes their big announcement, it really bleeds into all these different facets of how we use design, and interior design is no exception. It's such a huge component of designing and a major part of our lives too. So it's just interesting that they're pushing this color. I thought it was interesting myself because they just came from, what was it, magenta last year?
Yeah. So a very bold color.
Can I ask do you guys remember what was before magenta? Was that the emerald?
Was it the yellow gray mix?
I think it was.
So
yeah.
I guess what I'm wondering is, are they switching between jewel tones and pastels like every year? And if they are, maybe they're going to pick another jewel tone next year. But I thought it was interesting. And I think this peach fuzz is a beautiful, soft color. But I agree with you, ladies. I don't think it could be used on its own in a full necklace necessarily. That it would have to have another color paired with it. And it's such a great neutral color. And maybe that's why they picked it.
Mm-hmm. I'm so curious about their process. Does anybody know anything about their process on how they choose the color of the year? I feel like that's something I need to like learn more about.
Yeah, like do they have like a panel of
Experts
appointed experts? Yeah,
from
that
across fields.
They have
in
to.
different categories.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah, and
also,
are they scouting out, like seeing what's kind of up and coming places, and they have like an inside track to kind of figure this
Yeah.
color out?
This is
And
some
also-
Wikipedia stuff I need to get into.
trends and things in like housewares are like 2 years out. So how long ago did they pick peach fuzz as the color of the year?
Right.
Oh.
Because
Yeah.
it's on fashion runways now. So they
Right.
must have picked it years ago,
Mhm.
probably.
I would think so. Yeah.
I
That
feel
they
like
like-
there has to be some circulation time for it to already be in the awareness of the consumers and the people that they're trying to trend to,
Yeah.
which are
Like
the runways. And
I know you can get trend reports for 25, 26 right now as a behind the scenes
wow.
designer. So that's interesting that
what do we do to get to that level?
Right.
Okay.
it's funny because it's like, is this a trendy color or is it a trendy color because they said it's a trendy color? Do you know, 2 years
Yeah,
ago,
the chicken and the egg.
trendy because it's in the marketplace and that's what we have to shop for.
So I
And I
guess
think-
viewers out there, if you were picking the color of the year for 2024, what color would you have picked? What color are you excited about this year that you want to use?
Yeah, do you agree with peach fuzz, or would you have liked to see something else elected for the color of the year? I mean, we're now, this is it for us, but it's interesting. And then we will also wonder if 2025, is that going to be a jewel tone? We don't know.
We'll
Mhm.
see if
I
your
saw
prediction's right.
when we asked the question in our VIB studio group, I saw quite a few people voting for greens, for like sagey greens or emerald greens. And I thought that was kind of interesting. Since I'm such a green lover, I zoned in on that,
I will say,
You and me
of
both,
all the
sister.
colors of beads that we have the most difficult time selling, I would say green is one of the hardest sells.
I
Mhm.
can't sell green
Compared to,
silver
like,
silk to save my
blue
life.
or
Yeah.
what was that, Nealay?
I can't sell green silver silk to save my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And I feel like in nail polish color and stuff, because I was looking up like what the trends have been for winter nail colors. Like emerald green has been a very trendy color for a while. And I know my sister painted her house like a really dark green. She's way into that what is it, magnolia stuff, and they do a lot of like that dark green. So I think people were kind of embracing that as a possibility. I would love that. Oh my gosh.
Well, maybe that's
actually
next
have-
year.
Yeah, could be.
We're just on the upswing.
We need to
Mhm.
We're
just
ahead of it.
put it out into the universe that we want green to have a comeback.
I love emerald green. I wouldn't mind that.
Oh, right. Shira says very Perry. That was the one before Viva Magenta. And then it was yellow
See?
gray.
That was a pastel.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
And it went
Yep.
to a jewel tone.
Mm.
But I don't know where to count yellow because that was just recently. It was within the past few years. Yellow is such a weird color depending on the tone, but I don't know.
That was a
I love
fun
green
one.
yellow.
Yeah.
In with pushing the peach fuzz agenda, as I say, because it is part of pushing an agenda, right? The trends. It's not necessarily what people are voting for. It's more of like, here's what we're going to try and see what we can point people toward and give them a recommendation on something that's going to be a really great design out of it. And I think that's also our job as TGBE is we're not just following trends, but we're setting them. And so some of the stuff that we'll discuss tonight, we might tweak it in a way that I think we're going to be excited to see what we can create and what we can form into 2024's fashion and stuff that we have that we want to push. But along with the peach fuzz, again, the palettes, these are just a few that I pulled from the Pantone website. They have several, but these stuck out to me because it kind of fell into seasons for me, with spring, summer, and fall and winter coming up, which is like the older I get, the quicker time passes. But I don't want to think about that right now. I think this is exciting to see, though, these beautiful colors all paired up, especially the summer palette, which I think is the summer one.
So juicy. Yeah,
Yes.
it's beautiful. My eye went right there. I was like, oh, that's really pretty.
And it reminds me of sand, right? So it does lend itself to very like a beachy vibe. It can be anyway, I guess.
Like coral almost, or even starfish, and like seeing sand, and then you can start to bring in like the watercolors and stuff. And I think that's what the bottom one reminds me of too, but it's so easy to be monochromatic and to have that safe space to design from. There's nothing wrong with that. I think that can be definitely created and worked with. It just depends on what else you're wearing that really offsets and pushes it forward. So moving on, I want to discuss some fashion forecasting, speaking of, and something that upon research is quite prevalent and still not going away is the 80s.
Yes.
Nothing wrong with that. I was born in the 80s, but I was a 90s kid. And so I think there's some overlap. There's not a whole lot, but there's a little bit of an overlap. We're talking big cuffs. We're talking bubble earrings and necklaces. And I've got these examples that I posted. And oddly enough, brooches, which had a resurgence in the 80s, but it's not an 80s invention. Okay, so let's start down the line. Kristen, thoughts?
Well, I just love the big, bold look of the 80s. I find it a lot of fun. I'm definitely looking at that necklace that you've got here with those really big beads. I actually pulled some of our beads we have in like a fire agate, and they're like monstrous. I think they would be great in that kind of design.
Can you hold those up again, because then I could solo layout you.
Yeah. I mean, they're probably like 12 millimeters, so they're not monstrous, but they're decent size. And they're in that like peachy tone. But I thought that could be really, that was like, because I had them on my table already, I went right to that necklace and went, ooh, that could be fun. And the short style is a little difficult for me, but I'm trying to get better at wearing some shorter necklaces. So I am noticing the collar style necklace here.
Upon research, I had discovered that chokers are making, I didn't put it in this report because I didn't want to allude to the fact that we're trying to push that agenda necessarily. Maybe it's just a personal thing. I don't know if I feel comfortable with chokers.
You like the no clasp, Nealay.
Yeah, apparently I like necklaces without.
You would need a clasp. Yep.
Cheers to that. But you're right, Kristen. The necklace length is like on the examples that I saw on the runway and the clippings and stuff online on the magazines and stuff. Shorter necklaces is where it's at. And this is like the 18, 20-inch mark. And I think to your point, it's a comfort level, right? But there's still ways to kind of design around that and to push yourself to try something new if you're just wanting to. But then if you're trying to also sell your jewelry, you're not your audience. And so you have to kind of cater toward different types of, designs and styles that you might want to appeal toward. Heather, your thoughts on the 80s?
The 80s are a hard one for me, Nealay. I am not I had to really dig into this trend to find the inspiration in it. And the things that I found myself going more towards were it was taking this nod from the 80s, but moving it more into these organic kind of water droplet, bloopy kind of forms, and I was like, oh, I could like get into that, where you could like see big Baroque pearls that had like a teardrop shape. Like that would be like a little nod to the 80s, but humble-fied. Like I can't just do
That's what we're doing here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
No,
then
totally.
also, just finding ways where they took organic elements and made it with this really fluid sheet metal looking items. I really enjoyed that part of the trend, but not the power 80s, which I would say these are like power woman 80s.
They are. But I was looking.
You know what?
I
all
was
for
moving.
shoulder pads. I'm just
Right.
saying.
You what?
I'm all for shoulder pads. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I think also
No way.
it's kind of a psychological trend too, where like designers they know women want to embrace like their powerful, more kind of warrior type side. Like there was a lot of like Wonder Woman type stuff going on, and I thought, is that kind of like a reflection of the election year, and that women are gearing up to go into a fight for 2024, and is that reflected in the jewelry? So I thought that was kind of an interesting,
that's really
psychological thing behind it. Yeah.
I look at it and I watched this show. It's the spinoff for Sex and the City. It's called And Just Like That. And they introduced a new character, and she was a really powerful mom. She's friends with one of the characters named Charlotte, and she wears the most fantastic, big, bold jewelry. And it looks just like this. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, wow, it looks fantastic on her. I don't know how that translates for me, but it looks fantastic on this New York mom. And I'm getting strong vibes from that. Like that probably was starting the trend from that show into like, oh yeah, we could go back to this very powerful, but beautiful jewelry. Just, it's hard for me to imagine myself wearing like a big metal cuff like that at this point. But maybe 2 years from now, I'll be like, I wear it every day. I don't know.
Yeah.
It becomes more normalized.
I think I'm thinking about that character too. She has some of these shapes, but I don't always feel like everything she wore was like super metallic. So like maybe there is a blend there. Like some of it was just really colorful. But it was like,
I did a blog on it. Let me pull it up and I'll
Yeah.
post a link to it.
Oh yeah. Do it in our private chat so then I can shoot it out to everybody else.
Okay.
I wondered, because we're also reinterpreting these styles. This is just what's out there, right? This is, we either agree with it or we don't. But then how do we bring it back to what we are as a company and as our own businesses, right? The only way that I can really interpret this particular, if we're looking at the slide and we're thinking about specifically the SilverSilk chains, you'll see that sort of rope one that's silver on the bottom. But could you imagine taking several strands of SilverSilk and then starting to knot or to twist them together? And it's just an easy achievement if you're trying to kind of marry the two together. And so I wondered, for Humble Beads, Heather, like is there any water droplet stuff that you have that you want to talk about?
I definitely, let's see, I pulled out a bunch of things. Like this is a product that we carry. Oh, here we go. So it has that metallic feel to it, but it's like seeds and way more organic. So something like this I would put in that category as a far off kind of thing. But also I could see myself looking at teardrop shapes as a bead form more, and thinking how I would incorporate my polymer clay into a teardrop shape too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's so clever. And that's what it is. We're just kind of drawing those shapes and not necessarily the big bulk style, because we all, it's all our own fashion at the end of the day. But that is interesting on how we want to each interpret it. So Sarah sent me that link. I'm going to post that here in a second. Let's talk about our next category, big earrings. Now this will be a fun one for us, I think, but I want to hear what y'all think. What does this mean to you?
Love it.
Sarah, do you wear big earrings? I don't know if I've seen you in big earrings. Oh wait,
I
here.
mean, typically,
Yeah,
about this big.
on trend.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do like a big earring. Yeah, for sure. I love big earrings. And there's so many different things you can do with soft flex to make a big earring and still have it be lightweight. I don't like a big earring that's super heavy, like that last slide we showed where we had those big metals. Like, I don't think I'd like to wear a big earring that's like heavy duty, but a light big earring, I love it. And I love that bow one, and I want to make one
Mhm.
like
I
that
can
using
see.
soft flex.
Yeah, I picked out examples that I feel like could be bead related. And so the bow one was just freaking adorable, isn't it? I mean,
So cute.
pearls.
So good.
It's so easy. It's achievable if one of us wanted, wink, wink, one of us wanted to turn into a tutorial.
Sarah's
Me.
claiming it.
Sarah's like, I got that.
Let me make some notes right now. No, I have made a bow using soft flex before, and I don't think I ever made a design with it though. And I do like that.
My favorite was the example that's on the very left side, those concentric circles that are just easily connected. And it's duotone. It's mixing metals and colors together, which is also something that I don't shy away from. And I love the rigid line work. I'm a huge minimalist, and so it's all the things for me. Gives me all the feels.
I'm all about big earrings, always, always. So, these are probably my favorite that I've ever made because they're just kind of a little wacky. I think we had a challenge, and they're nice big huge hoops.
Oh my goodness.
Which I don't see any hoops in there right now, but I'm definitely a hoop lover.
Oh my, I love those animals.
Just like so big. And the ones I have on now
Yes.
are the ones we made together with the SilverSilk and ceramic beads during our play date.
Peruvian ceramic beads. So pretty.
But yeah, so I always love a big earring. I feel like if I do nothing else but put on a big earring, I'm done and I'm ready to go.
Heather, do you do big earrings?
I do. I have a huge pair on right now. They go all the way down to my shoulders.
Yes.
And the nice thing about the beads that I make polymer clay is you can make a huge thing and it's still light as a feather. So I really like that. And one thing I really that really caught my eye when I was digging through the trends is there was this thing where they did just one gigantic earring on one side. Did you guys see that?
I loved that.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was like,
I
that
didn't
was
put it on
so
here because I feel like it'd
interesting to
scare
me.
people.
Or they did like one giant earring and then a little sister that was tiny. And
oh my gosh.
oh, that's kind of crazy.
Kristen,
Weird.
So
that would be so good for you.
I have a picture floating around from middle school that is one big earring and one stud.
The 80s, right?
I'm like, I have to find it because I think it came up another time recently. But yeah, I don't know. Would I do that now? Maybe I should try.
Does that circle back around to the 80s trend?
I think so.
I think it does.
Yeah.
The asymmetrical earrings was very 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And another thing I noticed when I was looking at the materials, especially some of the runway photos, where it would look like it was made out of paper clay. It was like super lightweight, but it had a very organic form to it. And it almost looked like it was painted on one part and like gilded or golden on the edges. And I was like, oh, that's definitely something I could see put into a humble beads kind of feeling.
Mm.
You know, we have an audience out there that does like mismatch earrings. Is that an agenda that we want to push? I haven't done it much with SilverSilk. I must say, but there's an open opportunity for it.
I mean, Kristen,
never
I
done
feel like your hair is perfect for a mismatch earring.
Right. When that's exactly how my hair was when I was in 8th grade too. It was like back on one side
Yeah.
and then
I feel like you have the perfect hair to do this this style.
Fair enough. That's true.
So I posted a link into the private chat for you to share, Nealay, but that design on the left reminds me so much of an earring that we've made for years and years at Softflex. That's scraps of Softflex made into little links and linked together. So if you guys are using Softflex, don't just throw away your little parts and pieces at the end, because you can just wrap it around inside a crimp and make a link with it. And then you can interlink those to make all sorts of fun things, and super fun, lightweight earrings for sure. You can layer them, you can link them together to make chains, and it can be a lot of fun. And you can do it with jump rings as well, like they've done here. And it's really easy, and it keeps your earring light, so you don't have to worry about all the weight.
I love that. I also wondered, everyone has a different definition of what a long earring is, because it really depends on what their comfort level is. If we had to be prescriptive about what a long or a big earring is, like what size would that constitute?
Oh, that's a
I
good
think
question.
like 3 inches or more.
Yeah, to my shoulder, I would feel like, oh, that's long.
Yeah,
like, this is
Yeah,
short neck.
shoulder length. For whatever a person's shoulder is to their earlobe, maybe that's a long earring.
That feels long to me.
Yeah.
I just need
that's
to go and get my
definitely
ears
long.
pierced, or I need to get more clip-ons. Joan actually sent me some clip-on earrings that I could actually wear my own earrings with.
That's fun.
She's so inventive, I'm saying.
I think my girls are getting their ears pierced this week for a birthday.
Really? Oh,
I think so. Yeah, it's a birthday this week, so I think
A
we're
rite
gonna
of
go get
passage.
ears pierced. Yeah,
Exciting.
it's a big deal. Hopefully, we don't end up with just one ear pierced and both of them.
And
I
they'll
mean,
be
there's a trend out there for that, just in case.
And they can wear the asymmetrical earring.
Right.
Yeah.
And then on the other
there
one,
you go.
this is a great segue, because on this trend, you do not need a pierced ear to pull this look off.
Oh, yeah. These are, see, the ear cuff isn't something that comes naturally to me to want to do, but I know that there's a lot of people that love that.
Does it feel youthful?
Yes.
It feels like a little too youthful for me.
Yeah. Like very cool girls wear this. Not
Yeah.
Mhm.
not that category. I'm not cool enough for ear cuffs.
Right. It
I
does
just don't
feel
see
that
it
way.
enough. I don't see it enough. I don't know if it's just like I don't know. I'm just not seeing much out there.
It seems very like festival kind of
Yes.
attire. Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, oops, not the comment I wanted to flash.
I was saying it in a much more nice way. They're youthful.
Back to Heather. The cuffs are still in there at Renaissance. So this reminds me in the comment that you guys were saying, very festival forward. We're talking the Renaissance Festival specifically, with like the earpieces, the elf ears, the things like that. That's sort of what it reminds me of. If I really had to put like an attitude or mood to it, just something very, I don't know, fantasy-esque, you know?
Mhm. I feel like people that like ear cuffs really love them. Like I do feel like there is a group of people that really love them. I feel like for me, it always felt uncomfortable, like I was going to lose it or it was going to fall off. I don't know. I just maybe I just wasn't wearing them properly.
Will I feel liberated, to my age if I decide to try an ear cuff? Will I be like, oh, I feel so young and spry?
Maybe.
Does it also depend on the design? Because we're seeing some, actually, I think we're seeing some sophisticated designs.
Yeah, I am too in this particular roundup.
Definitely.
Right. And then you go to like Claire's Jewelry or something, if it's still out there. I probably shouldn't have said a brand, but you know, and it is very youthful and very much like the teenage age range. But this is off the runway. This is stuff that high-end jewelry designers and are fashion designers are putting out there.
Mhm.
So, stuff like this, it's done in such a level of detail and level of sophistication that really doesn't make it youthful. It just makes it cool and
Mhm.
timeless.
Is that middle one a snake? I
It
feel
is,
like,
yeah.
oh yeah, I love that one.
Yeah,
Me too.
that
That was
one
my favorite one.
most appeals to me. And there was like this whole little micro trend of this like floral fantasy over the top what do I want to say, like motifs, like snakes, bugs. Did you guys see that one lobster necklace that was like a full size gilded lobster?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So there's totally like this fantasy animalistic, not animalistic, but like animal creatures kind of trend that's out there too, that I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I think that one fit into the big necklace category.
Yes.
I almost had that as a slide, but then I was like, this is a little bit like out of the realm of like our businesses. But
Yeah.
it was humorous, and I think part of the point of runway fashion is it is pushing a fashion agenda forward for those designers, but it's also just saying like and giving a good laugh to the industry. So they're gonna do stuff that doesn't make any sense for the fact that it just doesn't make any sense, and they're going to have fun with it.
And it's
Yeah.
art.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's high-end art, and that's part of it too.
Well,
Yeah,
and to
they're-
get people talking, if people are going to post a ridiculous photo of something that's like weird and unwearable, people are talking about that brand.
And it's kind of like a megaphone on smaller more wearable items. Like I saw a lot of coastal shells, fish, lots of little themes that were very oceany. And so I could see where this lobster thing was like a huge take, literally, on this
On it.
trend that was going on.
Right. They just blew it up.
Yeah.
And
They went for it.
I see some really good examples in the chat, like scarabs. I really love a beetle or scarab. Also dragons and phoenixes.
Mhm.
I think those are all really nice images. Kristen, did you choose an image of the year? Is that what you're doing now?
I choose a symbol. Yeah.
A symbol.
So the last few years, I've done a word and a symbol together, but so far this year, I'm just choosing a symbol, and mine is the moth. So we have a new moth button that we just put in the shop at softlightscompany.com, and I was talking about how it's really fun when you choose a symbol. Like I did have snake one year. That was a couple of years ago. Last year was portals and spirals, and this year is moths. So when you choose a symbol to kind of guide you, you can look for that in your jewelry. You can look for that in your house and, pillows or whatever you want.
Your adventures.
Yeah. And you can bring that in. So, just kind of calling in the energy. For example, like the snake is a very creative shedding of the skin, transformative, divine feminine, all of that kind of stuff comes into the snake symbolism. And so when you choose something like that, you're kind of standing in your feminine power for the year every time you wear a snake or bring something into your life that has that symbol on it.
It's something to think about as you're thinking of the different types of things that you can use in your jewelry. What are you saying with it? What is that? What are those items symbolizing?
Well, and that's when it becomes really personal. And whenever you start to find this eclectic mix of things that you put together, this is a great segue into our next category, because boho style is born from all of these different whimsical components that sort of marry together in an eclectic harmony. I feel like boho style isn't something that we've not experienced before. This was something that was in trend in and out for a long time, and it's still like kind of in the same circle of fashion. So I feel like this is an easy win for all of us, because who doesn't
Has
love
it ever stopped? I really feel like it's been in style for so long now, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, and it's an eclectic mix of things. And so like how could it ever go out of style.
Mhm.
Always relevant, and it's timeless things that you can kind of pair together. This is really where I feel Silver Silk is at its finest in mixing with the beads, polymer clay, silver, soft flex wire, seed beads, like what have you, all the things.
Yeah, I think boho is short for bohemian, right?
Mhm.
Someone's asking, they don't really understand what boho even means. I think it's short for bohemian, and Bohemia is a place. It's where the Czech Republic is now. So I have some Bohemian ancestry apparently, but it's a place where a lot of beads come from. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it or where that word came from, but I think that would be something interesting to sort of learn more about.
I also think it ties a lot to France and artists and during the Impressionist and around that time period where it was Bohemian artisans that lived this Bohemian type lifestyle where it was kind of very free and a mixing of cultures. And I think that's where some of it comes from too.
Mm-hmm.
So in the interest of mixing cultures, is that like part of where the layering might be
I think so.
inspired from?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And I also feel like this kind of we saw Bohemian boho before, and then there was this trend for the last few years that I was like, ooh, I didn't like it. It was like a resurgence of Y2K 2000s, where it was very like kind of like childish looking beads and necklaces with like letters, and not childish in a bad, but playful.
Like the Swifty
Playful.
bracelets.
Yes, and like necklaces where it was like a whole bunch of necklaces, and they were like pony beads and letters and mixed in with like high class pearls. So it was this very kind of
Juxtaposition.
youth, and then this is that same kind of trend with all of these necklaces together, but now it's a little more sophisticated. So you're seeing like that trend is like kind of ebbing and flowing into different things.
And I think
Taylor Swift is very bohemian in the way she dresses and the jewelry that she wears.
And I think that's a great point to what I was going to say was the fact that we have this overarching theme, but I think as people that are trying to push fashion forward, there's a certain level of refinement and our own touch that we can bring to it that makes it more sophisticated and intentional, rather than something that does look a little more playful, if you will, and youthful than we probably intend.
And I guess it does make sense that we all really fall into this style a bit because it is very bead heavy. It's probably one of the more bead heavy styles out there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And also
it's all pretty affordable though, which is nice too. Like it's not a lot to buy seed beads or tassels or little charms and things. Like it's accessible for everybody.
Achievable. Yeah, accessible is a great word.
What were you going to say, Heather?
Oh, I think this trend also leans the most towards artisan and handcrafted, which of course would appeal to us. Whereas the other ones are more maybe mass manufactured, or like some of the high-end jewelry ones weren't, like big cuffs that are done in metal studios. But like this one seems more in touch of like the hands-on creating. So of course we're all going to love that one.
Tammy just posted Bohemian is the French term for gypsy, referring to the Romani people who migrated to France from Central Europe in the 15th and 16th centuries.
When you really dig down between underneath what Bohemia and that trend in fashion, it gets to a point where you really find that saturation of true style and like what it was supposed to represent, and then you get what's fashion interpreting it as. So all to say, I don't know if these examples now represent what it is, but this is what's coming off the runway too.
Wendy has an interesting question. She says, I would like to hear how each of your processes and how you came to the style that you teach?
Oh.
Oh, a 30-year transformation.
I was gonna
It's like 5 minutes. Yeah, it's always changing, right? Just like
Mhm.
morphing and changing. Like this 30 minutes may change a little bit of what I do without me even consciously thinking of it this coming year, you know. I take inspiration from everywhere, from all of my co-presenters, just from the beads I can get my hands on, you know,
Mhm.
that I love, that speak to me. And then of course I'm driven by Softflex Wire because that's the company that I've worked for 25 years. So I am always sort of driven to use Softflex in new and improved and different and special ways. Because that's a big part of who I am as a designer. What do you guys think?
Well, I want to flash it over to Heather because she actually has some stuff that she might
Ooh, let's see it.
right here.
This
Yeah.
is exciting.
So
Oh,
this
wait,
is
let me spotlight.
okay.
There we go.
Okay, let me get this fixed up. So
It's tough DJing behind the scenes here too. So
there we go. All right.
oh, that's perfect.
There we go. Okay.
Oh, so pretty.
I'm going to just show you guys a
So
few things.
pretty.
So
Yeah.
as I looked through the trends, I made notes, and I'll show you guys my sketchbook in just a minute. But then I went through my stash, and I'm pulling out what feels like peach to me. And I'm going to lean more towards coral because that's just a natural color for me. But I would pair it up definitely with more peachy type beads to capture that trend. And you can see here where I've taken the little leaf earrings, and this definitely fits in with the boho style, but also the large earring style. And it has my polymer clay beads mixed with glass and metal. And I've put together some little color palettes with super duos inspired by the palettes that we saw. And then here's that fantasy bug inspiration that really caught my eye and just naturally fits towards me as a designer because I love nature. And then I was thinking of that 80s metal and so not me, but also the mixed metals trend. And so here is some of the kind of beads that I would pull for that trend. And
Love those metals. Those are luscious.
Thank you. And of course, check glass and polymer clay. And then the more geometric shapes, I just am always going to be pulled more towards organic. So even my geometric are hexagon, like the bee. And here's a pair of earrings that kind of fit into that geometric shape. Okay, so let me pull out my sketchbook. Is there an echo?
A little bit, but it's not too strong.
Too bad.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's my little phone. I can't figure out how to turn off the...
You're probably hearing it more than we are.
Okay, so as I'm going through the trends, I'm making Pinterest boards as I work along. So I'm pinning things from Pinterest and also from the articles. And one of the things that I noticed in the trends that really inspired me was everything was very colorful and had this really bright painterly stroke kind of feel to it. And it had a huge reminder of Matisse. Everything looked like a Matisse painting when I had my boards put out. And so that's a little off tangent on here, but that's just how I work when I'm going through inspirations, collecting the boards, and seeing overall on my boards what trends or motifs are popping up. And then as I'm going through the trends, I'm making notes of what's appealing to me in each trend. So I really loved in the boho style, there were a bunch of brass coins, little brass coins. And I thought, okay, how can I interpret brass coins or even just a hammered coin shape into my jewelry? And the other trend that I kept seeing were this like calla lily type cone shape. I saw it in flowers and shells, and then I saw something that looked kind of beaded, and I thought, oh, what would it be like to make like a beaded cone? So I'm kind of like taking ideas that I see and then letting my imagination take the next step. And so I would take something like this and design a piece of jewelry based on what does a beaded cone look like. Another thing I saw were mixed metal chains that had really different interesting links to them. So the links were all different shapes. And so I made a little note of that. For the 80s thing, I was like really struggling, but I'm like, okay, what if I took a big piece of copper and did like lines on the copper to do geometric shapes? And I was like, oh, that would be a good way I could do that. And same with a cuff. I could do like a beaded cuff, but the cuffs were really iffy for me.
No, the cuffs are in.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
We got to go that direction.
As a larger person, Neely, it's really hard for me to wear cuffs. So
It's true. I don't love a
change
cuff
them.
either.
Yeah.
I tend to like a smaller cuff because it is
Yeah.
a little more comfortable.
Yes. And then I saw this really cool necklace that had this repeating elements over and over. And it was hammered metal with beads on the inside, or like a pearl. But I was like, okay, what if I take that idea and I took components like these flowers and stacked them to make a similar design? So you're taking a basic idea that you see and going, okay, how does that fit into my style? And how can I play with this idea?
Are your Pinterest boards open for people to look at, or are they private?
They are. So if you go to Humble Beads and look up, I have a 2024 trend. And then I also have under color palettes, I have a 2024 color palette. And then I forgot who said this quote, but to steal like an artist, you take ideas from a whole bunch of different places and combine them to make something new. And there's this great artist, Meredith Straught, and she did all these really fabulous bohemian type bracelets that were very big and chunky and had tons of really cool tassels. So I went through and did little notes of different elements that I liked in her design. And so I would maybe take these elements, and instead of doing like her signature style bracelet, I would make them into like an earring or a pendant and do a different little take on it. So that's different ways that I explore trends. And then I love a good color palette. And so I was going through on my color palette board and picking out ones that I really loved. And if you're not into coloring or drawing, like, guys, these sketches are just little shapes and you just make notes. You don't have to be an artist to make notes, or you could just print out pictures too and glue them into a little inspiration booklet. But one thing I noticed with the colors that really appealed to me with the peach is that they were split complementary colors. So if you look up split complementary, you can see they're 2 items on a color wheel and then the complement across from it. So that would be like orange and yellow, and then the complement was the purple. And so these are very traditional color palettes that you wouldn't necessarily think worked together, but they look really great. This one down here is analogous, which are colors on the color wheel, and that's always an easy combination. And then of course you have your complementary colors. With peach, you could go teal or blue. And so I saw this slate blue color and I was like, that's nice.
I would do all
That's
of those.
really pretty.
Heartbeat. I mean, that is such a stunning palette.
Yeah. Oh, this fantasy fairy tale collection was the one that I was like most interested in.
You know, your process, Heather, I kind of want to point this out and be a little prescriptive about how our audience out there finds their inspiration too. And keeping a journal is important for a designer, but also doing these sketches and just, you know, using your color pencils to like throw out a few colors and start to put them together like you did in that journal entry, sketching. I just thought that was so impressive. And it's such a great reference piece to go back through, and it'll be a great reference piece for 2024 if you're looking for that immediate palette using peach fuzz.
Yes, definitely. And my Pinterest boards, I revisit them through the whole year. Whenever I'm feeling like, oh, I don't know what to do, or I'm like looking for an idea for a video, I'll go through and see, okay, how can I make this into something new? And so, yeah, start collecting things on Pinterest board, make a mood board for 2024.
Yes.
Yes.
I think somebody was asking, they said they don't know how to find their style. And that was before Heather showed her beautiful journal and sketches. And that is like the way to go about it. And it doesn't have to be in a journal. It could also be, like you said, on Pinterest boards. Or it could just be like playing with what really is your favorite things and doing something and going, hey, I really enjoyed that process, or no, I really did not enjoy that process. So you're just finding out as you go. I think most of us have been playing with beads for many, many, many years. And that's sort of how you find your style, is just showing up and doing it and learning things and finding out what makes you tick and what things you don't love. And then you just kind of hone in a little more and a little more.
What I really liked that Heather pointed out was that she looked at a specific designer that she was admiring their work, and she drew out some things she admired, and then she thought about how she could incorporate that into the jewelry that she's making. I think that's like a really great jumping off point. If you're trying to find your style, maybe find it in someone else, but then use that to inspire you. To still strive to make it your own in some individual way as an artist, but have like a jumping off point.
I think this is a really good conversation that we need to construct for a future event space. So
yeah,
Sarah, you might jot that down for us for later. I think that's such a great topic, and it's so centralized of like, how does one find their own style? I know I wrote a blog post on it on silversilkonline.com. I'll dig it out somewhere. It's a bit unique, I will say that, but I would love to revisit it and see what that might lead toward for my future. And I also did it a couple of years ago, so my style changes. I don't know. Well, I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it. Let's talk about the next topic.
Yeah. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Also, and you're looking for your style, whether it's your clothing style or jewelry style, pull from the things that you already love. Like for me, it's nature, art history, and color. And I'm always going to be drawing from those three inspirations in everything that I make. So somebody who loves to do quilting or crocheting, maybe fibers is something you're going to go into. So pull from things that you already love and interpret that into your jewelry. See where you can mix in things into your jewelry with the things you already love. And
Yeah. I mean, I think we need to unpack this in more detail for a future.
It could be a whole day.
This could be a whole hour.
Totally.
And it's such a great and very important topic, and I don't want to lose that for us. So this is great. But as we're talking about fashion trends and stuff, denim jackets, which I am so excited about. I love denim jackets. I've got two that I've had for over 12 years each. I found them at a Ross store, and they fit me like a glove. Love them. I don't know if I would embellish them because they're just like they're like my friends, they just hug me when I need them, and they're my comfort, my blanket. But
well, that's why it's okay to have more than you can have those that are like, okay, you guys are just great the way you are, and then you can bring in some new denim jackets that you're like, now you're gonna be somebody I embellish.
I need you to sparkle up because that's the mood I'm in.
Or you could just do beaded brooches.
Right.
Put them on your jacket. That's so true. Good point. So I have a bone to pick with denim jackets. I bought the girls' denim jackets like a year and a half ago, and I got the patches because kids like these denim jackets with all these patches. I have still to this day not figured out how to keep these patches on these denim jackets. I've tried everything.
Are you sewing them on? Like, what's the
I'm
deal?
not going to sew them on. What
Oh,
kind
well,
of
Sarah, you have to.
That would keep them on, Sarah.
That's too much.
Are
Come
you
on.
ironing them on? Is that the press all? Like, what are we doing? Here?
I definitely will be tuning in for Crafty Chica tomorrow for how I can solidly
plug.
decorate these jackets in an hour, possibly, and be done with it.
I saw
Sarah,
the
you
template that she's gonna work with, and it excites me because it's such a beautiful pattern. And I'm curious to see how you would embellish a denim jacket again, because that's not.
I have tried fabric glue, you guys. I have tried ironing. I have tried badge magic. I've tried everything.
I know what you need to do, Sarah.
Okay.
You need to do a sewing module in your homeschool and have your kids sew.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Evelyn has been into sewing. She's trying to learn how to use the sewing machine, but I can only imagine what would happen if I let them loose on a denim jacket with needles and threads.
Maybe they're not right. I did learn to sew at Evelyn's age, and my father, of all people, taught me. Believe it. Fun fact.
Yeah, she's been sewing like things for her doll. They've renovated a dollhouse, and now she's been making bedding and like rugs and like all sorts of
cute. I love that.
Very cute things. Yes.
Yeah.
So do you think the denim jackets are also an 80s throwback?
I think there is a correlation from the different topics that relate back to a time period.
Yeah.
Especially embellished ones.
Because I say they were definitely popular, I think, in the 70s and also in the 90s, but the embellished was probably more 80s. My dad, to this day, has worn a denim jacket my entire life. And I just know, like, there was definitely periods of time where we'd be like, take that thing off. Like, it's gotta go. And he just really stuck with it and just waited for it to come back around each time.
It does all come back around.
I mean, now's his chance. Now's his time to shine.
Yeah, it really is.
No, I'm excited about that. I personally, my take on denim jackets, I don't think they were ever out of fashion.
I don't think they were either. I think they just sort of, sometimes the cuts change.
Yeah. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Although in the examples that we're seeing different types of cuts. And also, I think the denim on denim, if they're the same tone, that's a little much for me. I prefer to have my denims in different colors.
That's interesting.
I feel like we need Candy Cooper here for this conversation.
Correct.
Yeah, she was rocking denim today, I think, right?
And she always that's part of her vibe, right? She's got denim in the background.
That's right. When she always has denim on her table.
I was living for every second that she was wearing them.
I know her pants were great.
So
You're
good.
right.
So good. But denim is her aesthetic. It's part of her brand. And she takes it to that artisan style though. Like she elevates and makes it nostalgica. Like that's, it's very clear of what the vision that she's going for her brand is. And it's a great way to celebrate. That's why I always say, that's what I'm also saying is like denim isn't out of style and never has been. The jackets, yeah, I don't know. I'm a little, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm confused by why this is suddenly back because it was never gone.
Maybe just that it's an updated version.
Yeah.
And it could be the cuts. So I guess that's part of it too. Well,
so fun.
Sort of brings us to the end of our conversations, but I wanted to reach out to our audience that's watching, over 300 people. If you had any questions, now's the time to say it. A lot of people are interested in trends. I'm just saying,
yeah, it's fun.
Nice when we can get together and talk like this too. Like I was just thinking, this is just so lovely, and it's almost a component that I haven't gotten to. I wasn't here last time, so I haven't gotten to explore the idea of us all being together talking about a subject for TGBE, and it's really lovely. I would love to do more of this.
Well,
Yeah, Nealay really elevated it this time around. With your slide deck, you did a really good job.
I'm a little extra, you guys know that, but
Good job, Nealay.
thank you. You know, this is a great topic. I think there is more to unpack as we move forward in our year of events, which is we're at number 14, but I think it's just going to get better and better and better and better. You know, there's
Mm-hmm.
so much that we have yet to accomplish, and this was a great kickoff for that.
Yes.
For the year. I mean, it's January and we're all on this creative high
Yeah.
right now.
Well, I just love spending time with all of you. So it was really nice, very relaxing and lovely to spend time with you.
It's also nice to get a chance to like really, like you said, discuss this kind of stuff and talk about it with each other and with the community as a whole. Because sometimes we're just like in that, you know, move from this to that to this, and it's hard to know, well, why am I doing this? You know, what's my goal here? It's always nice to kind of regroup and see what comes out of those discussions and something like this. I'm sure I'm definitely going to be thinking differently about some of the stuff I'm going to do, I think, from here on out because of this conversation.
We are getting a flood of love comments at the moment. I'm like, a flood is probably understated. I'm not getting any questions per
This
se.
is also a good time, all of you out there, whether you're watching it now or watching it later on replay, what trends are you seeing? You know, we only covered 5, I think. What
Mhm.
trends are you seeing? What are you excited about? Because at the end of the day, you know, we're all one community, and it would be great to hear what's happening out there in your world as well.
Agreed. And I feel like our customer base and our creators out there push the trend as well, and they push us to do new things with our products, respectively. These are the trends that are out there, but it's going to be interesting seeing how these trends translate into each of our businesses. What SilverSilk can do with big earrings, what Softflex company can do with, I don't know, jean jackets. What Humble Beads will do with the teardrop shape and the raindrop shape. You know,
Maybe we should regroup at the end of the year and talk about how it ended up changing what we did this year.
a good way to put it. I mean, this recording is permanent now since it's on the YouTube of the Great Bead Extravaganza. So I'm sure I will look back and think, what the heck was I saying? But
Right. And someone said, I never really follow trends. I just do my own thing. I think so.
That's
And I
okay
think
too.
that's okay too. And I think a lot of us still do our own thing, but we may have, you know, a little jumping off point based on a trend, which I think is cool to give a little direction sometimes to what we're up to.
Tony just mentioned the pearl trend for men's jewelry, and we talked about that like 2 years ago in one of our trend reports. And I was really flabbergasted. Not that men can't wear pearls, but I was just like, oh, I haven't seen that. And then I was like, oh, I'm seeing it everywhere now. Now that someone said it, I see it. Like, it's happening around me, like in real life, you know, like on the street, the grocery market, or wherever. It was really interesting.
I think that's a
So I
good
guess go
testament
out
to
in your
say.
world and watch, and I bet you're going to see some of these things that we mentioned today are really happening around you.
I'm just saying TGBE is kind of its own big animal at this point. The stuff that we say and put out there, we're gonna see it out there inevitably. People follow us. People know who we are, so we'll be seeing it. But what I was gonna say is that this is a good testament to a statement that I took away with me a long time ago, and it is that it's important to be how does it phrased? It's important to be on trend, but not trendy. In the sense that stuff is so, you know, time driven, and so if you know what's out there and you're aware, but then you can kind of forecast to see if that particular aspect of the trend will last in the next 10 years, then I think you've hit the gold mine.
Agreed.
So, all right. Well, I didn't see any comments, but we did get so much love from our community out there. I just want to say thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
to the panel that has
Thank
joined.
you for hosting, Nealay.
Yes, this was so fun. And thank you for sharing your sketchbook with us, Heather. It was beautiful.
It's really
Really
fun.
hearing that.
The person who said they aren't trendy, I'm not a trendy person. Like in my personal, like I'm definitely looking more towards art history or nature, but I just love digging into the fashion runway trends and seeing, you know, it's somebody else's creative process that helps influence my own. And so if you're not a trendy person, still look at those trends and see what kind of inspiration. And then of course I just pretend I'm on Project Runway, and
That's how everyone operates in this like fashion industry. I feel like it's a competition, but also you bring your point of view, and yeah, you should be able to cut fabric. So,
And I think that's also a nice point someone made, is maybe a man's trend, a men's
Mhm.
trend. Next time we do a trend report would be nice.
I agree. A lot of people, believe it or not, to my surprise, actually, in fact, have asked me to design more men's pieces or masculine influenced, and I haven't done it yet. I dipped into it 2 days ago on my Facebook. I just did a random, like, I was like, I'm gonna be Candy Cooper today and pop onto Facebook and just do this like really casual, like let's hug each other kind of a video. And I did some pieces for myself that I wore in my show during the Great Bead Extravaganza during my segment, and but it was a gap. Like I hadn't done a men's design for a long time prior to that, so I need to re-explore it, and I need to dig into what that look and feels like for SilverSilk and More.
and also non-binary, just non-gender.
Mhm.
Yeah, just
neutral.
any sort of.
I like that idea too.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because sometimes I remember, when we had James working with us, there were certain things that my idea of what maybe a man wouldn't wear, he would definitely challenge that for me. And I would be like,
Mike.
oh, so that part, and Mike too, totally, always Mike for sure. But I was like, and maybe Mike stands on his own thing though. Like Mike was just so. So it was just like Mike and then everyone else. So, but it was really interesting for me because it's hard for me to think about how I would design for a guy, and he would help by saying, "Oh, this is definitely something I would wear," and I would, "Oh, that's interesting." Wouldn't have necessarily thought that, and that's kind of good to know. And my dad likes jewelry, so I have made jewelry for him in the past. But yeah, it's always kind of tricky, and I think that's probably why you get that question a lot, Nealay, because it is kind of like, well, what would they put on? I don't know.
I dropped a link, Nealay, for 6 DIY jewelry design ideas for guys.
And I think Nealay did some.
Yep.
Yeah, you did some on that.
I will
right?
say that I've evolved from that. I've evolved into a refinement that it's still great content. I think I can do better, and I think that's just me pitting myself against myself for my design work. And I've learned as I've progressed with SilverSilk what that looks like, and so I need to revisit it, I guess is what I'm saying, and really reinterpret and spend some time on it. I haven't yet pinned out that time, but it'll get there when it feels right. It's gonna be there. Are you?
Excuse me.
Oh my goodness.
I'm having a moment.
And with that, I just want to say we've been on for over an hour, and I don't want to keep everyone hanging up for the rest of the evening. So I just want to say thank you all panelists for joining me for this fine evening, and for all of you out there for also joining in on our fabulous trend report. We look forward to seeing what you can do in 2024 with what you've learned today with products from each of our businesses, and that we appreciate your support for our livelihood as well. So with that, I say big hugs, as I do with my company, and we all love you guys so much.
Are we going to give some hearts, Nealay?
Oh, can we do that?
Look for
Let's do
Abby first thing in the morning. I think she's 8 a.m.
Yes.
Look for Abby, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. And then Heather, you're right after Abby tomorrow morning, right?
At 1 o'clock. Yeah. So is Abby later? I think
Abby's right before you, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, she is. I haven't looked at the schedule for tomorrow other than 1 o'clock.
Well, it's
Awesome.
posted on the Great Bead
Here, let me
Extravaganza
look.
group and our page, which is where we're posting all of our videos. Do not forget to sign up for that giant prize that we are giving away.
Yeah.
So it's at least added up to $250 of
least.
free product. I mean, hello. I should have signed up, but I can't.
Right.
because I'm a participating company. But you guys can.
Are you on Eastern, Heather?
I am. So
Okay,
1
yeah.
o'clock
Yeah,
Eastern.
so Abby's on at 11:30 Eastern, and then Heather, you are on at 1.
Oh, so
after
Abby's 8:30 a.m.
Pacific time.
Okay, so look for Abby at 8:30 a.m. Pacific, and then Heather will be shortly after. We have our 2 special guests tomorrow too. One of them is designing on a jean jacket, so make sure
So
you tune
trendy.
in for that. So trendy. Yeah, so it's going to be another fun, very full, very interesting day, and then it ends with Christy and her little lands of time. I don't. What was she even calling them?
I think it's her fantasy little
Worlds, her little fantasy world.
That's it. Little worlds. Yeah.
So cute. They're so cute.
Bring your chocolate, bring your giggles, because you won't want to miss Christy's project, and she is always packing some fun in her entire presentation. There's not a moment where I'm never entertained whenever I watch her.
Yeah, she's the best. She's a great person to end it for sure, because she's just like such a good time, that Christy Friesen.
Mm-hmm. Thanks
All
for
right,
hosting
cheers to
us
all of
tonight.
you. We love you. Thank you so much for joining in, and we will see you tomorrow.
Yes.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.